Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Commission hearing for Monday, May 4th. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Commissioner Lee, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Cruz.
Commissioners Cruz, Foster, and Mallett had both given prior notice that they would be absent this evening.
You named three people, but said both. Clarify. All three of them?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Lee, President, Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Walker.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson. Yes. Commissioner Weber.
Present.
Chairperson Zuber.
Here, thank you. Awesome. All right, so we have some minutes from April 6th.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
All right.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Weber to approve the minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we have an agenda to accept. Patrick, do we have anything to add to the agenda or delete from the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, this time we have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Watkins to approve the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, communications, Patrick, do we have anything to talk about?
In terms of communications, we had emailed out a series of emails that we had received regarding the Fowler Creek rezoning this afternoon. So we've distributed those comments, but beyond that, nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. We don't have any public hearings tonight, right?
That's correct. No public hearings on tonight's agenda.
Okay, so since we have no actual public hearings on the agenda, if you have anything to comment on, now is your chance. We have a public comment session here for you to speak about anything you want. If something's on the agenda that you want to talk about, please feel free to approach the podium and give your name and address for the record.
And then just to add to that, when we go through each agenda item, there's not a separate public comment for each agenda item. So what is happening right now is any public comments for the meeting, besides what we ask the petitioner, this would be the time on the agenda for any of those public comments.
Thanks for clarifying that. Anybody have anything to talk about any of the items on the agenda tonight or anything in general? Okay, we'll move right along then. Thank you. So our first item on the agenda this evening is old business. We have item number REZ 2600048, and that's the Fowler Creek LLC rezoning, where we are considering rezoning for several parcels. I'm not going to read them all off. The properties are located on the west side of Bar Road between Mott Road and Geddes Road. The proposed rezoning of properties, boundaries, and zoning districts contained in the Planning Commission packet from RA to rural agricultural to R2, R3, and R4 single-family residential. Patrick, tell us all about it.
Sure, thank you. At the April 6th Planning Commission meeting, we held a public hearing on the proposed rezoning. And after deliberations, the Planning Commission adopted a motion to postpone action on the application pending additional information that included a concept plan from the applicant. And so since that meeting, the applicants have prepared and submitted a concept plan and submitted it with the application. And the concept plan is in the packet this evening, and I'll put it up on the screen here. The concept plan is illustrative in nature. It's an aerial photo of the site overlaid are 628 residential units, which is the maximum that would be permitted based on the underlying future land use recommendation. So The concept plan is just a way of illustrating how the site could possibly be developed based on the information known at this point, which is subject to change based on a number of things, such as a wetland study, floodplain study, any soil studies, and engineering review. It can also be impacted by availability of public utilities, available road infrastructure, road paving, and any road improvements. So that could cause the density to be reduced. It could cause units to shift around. There's a number of different elements that would happen after a rezoning application that would impact not just the layout, but the number of units. So the conceptual plan that's been submitted, it's not our review of it and whether the rezoning is approved or not is not a referendum or an indication of either approval or denial of the concept plan. The concept plan is just to illustrate how the applicant would propose to develop the site if the rezoning is successful. So based on the conceptual plan, it shows 554 detached units and 74 duplex units. The number of proposed units is consistent with the applicant's narrative, which could allow for a gross maximum density of 628 units on the 211 acres. The concept plan appears to blend some of the densities throughout the site, so the density shown may not be consistent with the proposed underlying zoning districts. Also, some of the proposed lot sizes are smaller than what the proposed district allows. So in order for this layout plan to be moved forward in way of a development application, it would have to be a planned development district or a PDD. PDD allows for certain modifications from certain areas of the zoning ordinance, like setbacks, lot areas, and things like that. But a decision on the planned development district in the future, or whether this rezoning is approved or not, is no indication on whether the township would accept a future PDD application as approved. Therefore, although the concept plan illustrates a type of development that could only be approved by way of a PDD, if the rezoning is approved, that does not imply any approval of the proposed layout plan. The rezoning application that's been submitted, it's not a conditional rezoning, it's just a simple rezoning, which means that the action is on the districts as they apply to the land, not on a development application. So what's laid out here on the plan would only be possible if the rezoning was successful and if there was a successful PDD application after that. So in terms of the smaller lots, those are typically smaller lots than what are allowed in the underlying zoning districts. And I think one of the reasons the applicant shows that is because there's also some open spaces that are shown as preserved. There's a large woodland area that we had discussed last month in the middle of the site on the east side that is mostly shown as being preserved. And there's a large floodplain area in the northwest portion of the site, and some areas that are not in the floodplain in the northwest part of the site that are shown as being preserved. So there are some large open spaces that are being preserved. There are some stormwater retention facilities and detention facilities that are illustrated on the plan. But again, they're not any indication of whether they've been engineered or whether they're appropriately sized based on the conceptual development. One of the items that we do note, we didn't give it a full site plan review or PDD review. We just gave it about a page and a half or 2 pages of comments just to provide general commentary on the plan itself. And if this is developed as a condominium, the condominium ordinance prohibits more than 20 units on a cul-de-sac. So if there's a PDD application, that would have to be one of the proposed modifications. The concept plan shows only minor impacts to the woodland. And if there is a future PDD application, we would recommend a greater buffer distance from the Fowler Creek tributary in the middle of the site, which is west of the woodland. In the northwest corner of the site, there's a cul-de-sac that shows 27 units for detached single-family homes. If the rezoning is approved and there's a future PDD application, we would most likely recommend either removing that cul-de-sac or replacing it with a cul-de-sac with direct access to Getty's Road. This way, a bridge over Fowler Creek would not be necessary. On this plan, there's about 46% open space. In a PDD, a minimum of 25% open space is required. If the rezoning is approved and there's a future PDD application, we would look to try to maximize the amount of open space on the property, not just for the preservation of existing natural features, but to allow additional areas for stormwater management and flood control. With that, with the history of flooding in the area, we think that there's an opportunity to make on-site improvements that could benefit the area as well as future residents of the site. If there is a future PDD application, PDDs require definite benefits, not just for the site itself, but benefits for the surrounding area and the community as a whole. So there would be an opportunity for this site to provide definite benefits to the area and the site itself by making stormwater improvements that could benefit the region. Those types of things would have to be engineered, which is far beyond what a simple rezoning application would be. But with the concept plan and the layout that we're presented with, that's a note that we want to make. The area at the southwest corner of Getty's Road, the direct southwest corner, is located outside of the concept plan area. And this area is recommended as a neighborhood node in the master plan. We are currently working on preparing zoning district regulations for neighborhood mixed-use nodes, which will be completed within the next few months. At the time of PDD review, if the rezoning is approved, we will recommend incorporating design concepts that will be consistent with a potential mixed-use development at that corner. The concept plan shows access roads onto Getty's, Bar, and Mott. Getty's Road is paved, and Bar Road and Mott Road are gravel. The Bar Road access aligns with Weston Road on the east side of the site, and Mott Road aligns with Delaware Road on the south side. Both the subdivision ordinance and the condominium ordinance require that a gravel road be paved to its nearest intersection of a county primary or secondary road if the total existing and anticipated traffic volume on the studied segment of the unpaved road exceeds 1,000 trips per day. Therefore, any future development application would have to have a traffic impact study that reviews these three roads and nearby intersections, assess the impacts and changes to levels of service, and propose any applicable mitigation, which may include paving the roads if those number of trips are over 1,000. The conceptual plan also outlines some conceptual development to the west in Superior Township. Although we don't have any comments on that part of the conceptual development at this time, if there are adjacent developments in Superior Township that are concurrently planned along the way of future development applications, that will be an opportunity for both communities to collaborate on road access, trail connections, stormwater management, and any other shared objectives of our communities. So those are our comments on the conceptual development plan. We didn't really take a deep dive on it just because we were really looking at general layout, where the roads are terminating, what underlying natural features are being preserved and impacted, and how it may connect to the community as a whole, and identifying some areas potentially where we could be seeing modifications through the way of a plan development district application. Other than the conceptual development plan, there have been no additional materials submitted or requested by staff. Our findings on the rezoning remain the same in terms of the criteria listed in the zoning ordinance. One of the reasons they haven't changed is that the conceptual development plan, although we have comments on it, some things where we have recommendations, some things where we'd want to see changes to the plan, and other things deferring not just to the future part of the process, but also to the engineering division and other applicable agencies. The conceptual development plan really doesn't impact our findings as it relates to a rezoning. Whether we recommend approval of the rezoning or recommend denial of the rezoning, the conceptual development plan doesn't have any bearing on staff's recommendation, although it is a good way to review what the applicant has in mind and discussion for prospective future development on the site. So that concludes our staff recommendation. The only other item that I'll mention is that in the model motion, I had made a typo. It should be 6 parcels. I think there was a 6 number, but there was text 3. The proper number should be 6 there in the model motion. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Is the project sponsor here? Could you, do you have anything to add to what Patrick just said?
Yes, we can speak unless you have questions first.
No, that's fine. I think, come on up and. Please remind us of your name and address for the record and tell
Sure.
us
Good
more.
evening, planning commissioners and staff. My name is Spencer Schaefer, and I'm with Schaefer Development, joined here by my father, Steve Schaefer. Our office addresses are 31400 Northwestern Highway, Suite H, Farmington Hills, Michigan, 48334. So one of the main items we were tasked with at last meeting was prepare a concept plan. We talked about some density assumptions, which, staff discussed in their letter. Obviously, the density assumptions we prepared were based off of our survey. I didn't resubmit the exhibit, but in some earlier materials that we shared, there's 3 different zoning designations or zoning classifications on the parcel. Just a quick summation, the northern third of the property is zoned R2, the middle third of the property is zoned R3. Again, let me step back, R2 permits 2 units an acre, R3 permits 3 units an acre, and then the southern third of the site is zoned R4, which permits 4 units an acre. As Patrick said, the concept plan that we've put together is modeled off of what we intend to pursue development approvals under, which is a planned development, planned unit development, or planned development district. So in our stated calculations, we arrived at 628 units. The concept plan we put together contains that number of units on the dot. Now, Patrick said, with the PDD, one of the key tenets of that is public benefit. One of the most major things we're able to do as part of this concept plan is propose 46% open space, whereas 25% is required. We listened to a lot of what the neighbors said, at the initial meeting. We want deeper setbacks to our properties, and along all of our perimeter property lines, with the exception of the property line to the west, which abuts up to Superior Township, we've proposed a 50-foot setback. So that's a very healthy setback that allows us to do some grading, potentially some berming, some landscaping, more substantial landscaping, not just 1 row of trees, but potentially 2 rows of trees and stagger it to try to create, the most amount of screening possible. We heard from a number of the residents in the southeast corner who have larger single-family lots. Obviously, the parcel, the section of the property there is R4, 4 units an acre, but the density that we have laid out in that southern section of the development is far under 3 units an acre. So we're trying to spread that density throughout, and that's really one of the goals and objectives of the PDD ordinance. Beyond that, I want to talk a little bit about stormwater management improvements and floodplain. Obviously, we're all familiar with the flooding issues that have happened, out here the past number of years. Army Corps of Engineers was out here. Our consultants, our engineering consultants at Well, have been in touch with the chief engineer at Army Corps of Engineers, Catherine LeBum, who really spearheaded that study, and she's been sharing some data with us so we can create some more advanced modeling efforts on our property for the floodplain. We're also engaging with consultants such as Jamie Burton at HRC Hubble Roth and Clark, a very reputable municipal engineer who also works specifically on opening streams or stream widening efforts. And we're talking with him about some improvements that we can do to the Fowler Creek. Right now, the Fowler Creek on our site, if anybody's familiar with it, it's an agricultural drain. And it really needs to be opened up, and we think that's going to offer a lot of benefits, not only for the users of our development creating more of an attractive amenity, but a practical benefit in terms of managing stormwater flows better. So, we're in the early stages of designing that, and the concept plan that we've shared with you tonight, this area where the dashed line is, that's the floodplain that has been defined by FEMA as we know it today. So we, in our original earlier concept plans that we didn't want to submit, we had some improvements in that floodplain area. Now we're taking all improvements out of that floodplain area. We have no homes We have no housing envelopes. We have no stormwater mitigation within that area. But I want everybody to understand here, this is a concept plan, and the rezoning isn't based on the merits of the concept plan. The concept plan is just supposed to be an illustrative rendering showcasing what the potential, development potential for the property is. But, we've really taken due care to evaluate all of these potential issues, as we've heard from the township, as we've heard from the neighbors, as we know from our, years of development experience in Canton Township. So I don't want that to go unnoticed at this stage. I think we're going, leaps and bounds above the statutory requirements. But, we want to take care and want to make sure we're doing a PUD that, again, not only benefits the residents of our community, benefits broader neighbors and overall residents of Canton Township, because we're trying to do some different lot sizes, some 50-foot wide lots, some 40-foot wide lots. 50-foot wide lots are common, across other communities in Metro Detroit, maybe a little bit newer to Canton Township, but we really got to focus on housing affordability today and being able to deliver, more attainable housing to, younger people who are in my generation or the millennial generation. So, there's a lot of things that we're trying to balance here with this plan, but, we think it's a good illustrative rendering of what we intend to pursue as we get further along with the site plan approval process. So with that, I'll leave it. The last thing I'll mention is we've had some conversations with Dave Norwood in engineering. I know there are some SEMCOG funds available, and there's some other public-private partnerships that the township has explored, or, we potentially may be willing to explore further. Our goal with this is if we can propose some more stormwater management that's gonna, be a benefit and help residents downstream, that's something we want to do as well. So thanks for mentioning that, Dad. We've had some initial conversations with Canton Township Engineering. I really can't go any further until we get more, further along with our site planning efforts, but important note to put out there as well. So with that, I want to thank you for the time, and we're more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with Commissioner Watkins.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to start with the fact that it appears that this particular development, the development itself, not necessarily, the rezoning, applies to the law, and I'll be quick. The one thing I'll say is I know that it meets the standard, and this is something that could be easily approvable by this body. What I will go on to say, given the fact that we now have this concept plan, I think everybody understands that 600+ units, given the constraints of the geography, would be an enormous amount of units, especially given Getty's Road and Denton Road. It would be enormous. I'll say this. Although the zoning may work, I want to caution you, I want to remind you that the PD will come back to this body, and you'll need to have a worked out plan that says that Getty's Road and Denton Road can sustain an additional 500-600 units. This may be conceptual, I get it, it's fine. And you did a fine job of maximizing that space. That's what we asked for, and I'm glad that you brought it back. But there'll be a second visit to this body, and you, like everyone else, you'll say, well, maybe the other guy didn't, this guy, he put his 500 units on that side of Getty's Road. At some point, we're going to have to say no to somebody. And if you can't come back in the PD and say that we've worked out something to mitigate traffic, then I'd be more than happy to tell you this project doesn't work. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Singh.
Can't agree more with my fellow commissioner. We are looking at the zoning today. Obviously, conceptual plan is not a required item for a rezoning application, but we thank you very much for bringing it today. A couple things which I do appreciate, that you have taken into consideration the offset from the southeast households, that's 50 feet, and you're working on that. That's nice. But my concern is that now you have, the plan has lot sizes which are, some are smaller, some are larger. On the northeast side, you have smaller lots which do not align with that zoning. Obviously, you're gonna bring that in a PDD. But there are areas which you're preserving, which again, you're gonna bring in a PDD. Maybe you will put more housing there. With these number of houses and mitigations and flooding in that area, there are a lot of concerns. So as long as you guys have some good plans which will benefit the neighborhood, the city in general, and everybody's happy with it, I don't see any reason that we will have any issues with it, but it's a long road and a lot of things to achieve and do. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Lee.
My experience, I was trying to figure out why I have a different experience. What happened there was before the developer would even look at it, you had to get the road straight. Here, it's so much demand, it's the exact opposite. So when I was talking about before, you need to be working with,
Like it's like.
Yeah.
thank you. What I was talking about, as you mentioned, there are developers all over the place. And we need a concerted effort with the township, with the developers, to go in and say, look, this is what's coming, Wayne County or state, whoever, this is what we need in order to make this work. So it's exact opposite. I haven't been in that experience where the roads had to be put in before the developer would even look at it. Now, we got the exact opposite. So it's a different feeling now. But I think you got power in unity, because now you can explain to Wayne County or anyone else that this is why we need it, because we got 600 here, 500 here. You tell us what that looks like in your model, and you tell us what we need to do. Don't come and tell us that we need to wait until the problem happens, and then we do the roads. That's my problem with all of this. They wait until there's a problem and then do it, but they don't have a concerted effort by everybody to say, this is what we need, and we're gonna move forward. And it's really planning it out ahead of time and implementing it so that everything can phase together, okay? That's my challenge. So I had a problem with the water before, now I got a problem with, as I've heard, is the roadways too, because those are the two issues. They're the major ones. Thank you.
You talking, when you say they, you're talking Wayne County, right?
Wayne County.
Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, thank
I
you.
don't mean, I'm not saying they're bad, they just don't know. And they're only gonna do what you put pressure on them to do, because they got constraints as well. But you need to make the model, I'm adding now, you're creating 600 units, that's gonna have an economic impact on Wayne County. That's how you approach it. With that type of economic input, you can amortize the cost of this road over a certain period of time based on just the tax revenue that this will get. It'll build up faster, it'll go faster, and people will want to move there, which makes it more marketable. That's all I'm getting at. Okay? Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Weber.
Well, I promised myself tonight that I wasn't going to talk about the county and the roads and stuff. Commissioner Watkins kind of opened the door for me.
You're welcome.
But first of all, I want to thank you for bringing the conceptual plan. This is exactly what I needed to see. I know it's not final by a stretch of the imagination, but being a visual person, it helps me see what the possibilities are, so I appreciate that effort. Patrick, I just want to make sure the audience is clear that if we approve the rezoning tonight and they get further into development, they will have to come back before this body, and it'll be other public hearings for a PDD, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So there'll be other opportunities to comment on more specifics of a development plan and that sort of thing, other than what we've had so far.
Yes, absolutely. And beyond that, state law does not allow the township to impose conditions on a rezoning because it's not a conditional rezoning.
Right.
This concept plan is not submitted as a condition, and nothing is imposed as a condition. So
I just want to make sure people understand there will be other opportunity to comment about this development as it progresses. That's all.
yes, and if there's a Plan Development District application, there will be a public hearing, the same noticing requirement, so everyone within 300 feet of the site will get a mailed notice.
So going on with some of my comments, as you know from my last time when you were here, is the water was a big issue for me. I was pleased to hear you talk about the idea of possibly opening up the creek a little bit, and that's what I think that's a great idea if it can be done within the standards of the Army Corps and the state and all that sort of thing. But with regard to the roads, and I echo exactly what Commissioner Lee has said and Commissioner Singh. I assume it's a ways out before you folks would be here with a PDD design or site plan. I would highly encourage you now to do exactly what Commissioner Lee is talking about and start working the county to get the road situation taken care of. We have another item on the further down the agenda tonight that we have to talk about traffic. And again, it's another thing that we had a lot of debate about. And it's one of those things where we feel like our hands are tied a lot of times. We don't want to be in a situation where we have to deny a project because we can't, because our hands are tied about some aspect of it. To your point, to you guys and your fellow developers, and working with the township as well, putting some pressure on Wayne County and/or the state, depending upon what the jurisdiction of the road is, I think can go a long way towards helping you get your projects done, whether it's this one or a future one. It's just the way it is. And I get frustrated because we're charged with ruling on a design or whatever, and one of the things we have to look at is traffic and safety and that sort of thing. And when it's something that's out of our control, it's hard to rule on that fact. So to Commissioner Lee's point, I think if you start working on that now, and when you get back before us with a site plan and you have something from the county that talks about doing something now rather than being reactive, and that's part of the problem with our whole area is we're more reactive than we are proactive. I think that would go a long way towards getting your project going. And again, I thank you for bringing the conceptual plan. That helped a lot. And depending upon what happens here tonight, I look forward to seeing your further plans for this property.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wather?
It's always a tough act to follow, being last. I'm sure you have the contact information for Joe Score at Pulte where you can get with him, and maybe together the two of you can petition the county to do something about the roads. I really appreciate you taking into account the concerns of the neighboring properties and being very receptive. Obviously, this is a concept plan. It could vary very drastically from concept to end result. So just keep that in mind, that this is just a concept. The final picture might be drastically different depending on studies, engineering, all of that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, I echo what my fellow commissioners have said. I do want to point out, though, that I really do appreciate the thought you've put into stormwater management. From your slides last time, the section that you had through the
Natural channel
floodplain,
design, yep.
You know, trying to keep the parts in the floodplain, stuff that can flood, you know, walking paths, benches, and things like that. I think that's a really good idea, and just planning on flooding. I also appreciate that you're making an effort to have affordable housing in Canton, because we really need that. We have a real problem with the young people not being able to afford to live here. So I commend you for that, and I want to see this project go forward. So thank you for all your efforts. So anybody want to make a motion?
I'll do it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
I don't want Commissioner Watkins to get out of breath. I move to recommend approval of the request in planning application number PZ26-00048 to rezone 6 parcels? That's
Yes, that's correct.
with the numbers listed as in the application, from RA, rural agricultural, to R2, R3, and R4, single-family residential, in accordance with the application material submitted with the application. As the proposal meets the standards of section 27.06D4 of the zoning ordinance, as stated in the staff report, based on the following findings. 1, the proposed R2, R3, and R4 zoning districts are in accordance with the basic intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance, are consistent with the master plan, including the future land use map and zoning plan. 2, conditions have changed since the zoning ordinance was adopted, and the proposed rezoning to R2, R3, and R4 will not grant special privileges. 3, the zoning amendment will not result in unlawful exclusionary zoning and will not set an inappropriate precedent. 4, the proposed R2, R3, and R4 zoning is consistent with the existing land uses of surrounding property and is consistent with the trends in land development in the general vicinity of the properties. 5, compliance with the standards of the R2, R3, and R4 zoning districts are attainable. 6, the proposed R2, R3, and R4 zoning by itself does not result in negative impacts on the township infrastructure, with a final determination to be made during development application review. And 7, the subject parcels were previously rezoned from RA to R2 to R3 and R4 in 2004, which was consistent with the current rezoning application.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Weber and support by Commissioner Singh. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, could you please call the vote?
Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Walther.
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber.
Yes.
Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. We wish you the best.
Thank you very much. And to the neighbors, if there are any questions, we'll be outside.
All right, very good. The next item on our agenda is PDM PZ 25-00012, the Cherry Hill Village Plaza. We're considering planned development district, PDD, for two parcels at 49960 Cherry Hill Road. These properties are located on the north side of Cherry Hill Road between North Ridge Road and North Denton Road. The proposed minor planned development district for mixed-use, commercial, and residential development. Patrick, tell us all about it, please.
Sure, thank you. At the Planning Commission meeting on January 5th of 2026, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on this PDD application and postponed action pending receipt and review of several materials in compliance with the standards of the zoning ordinance. Because the site is in Cherry Hill Village, a PDD is required for any development within Cherry Hill Village. Specifically, this PDD is to construct a 3-story mixed-use building on a vacant property in Cherry Hill Village, located on the north side of Cherry Hill Road, between North Ridge Road and North Denton Road. Specifically, the site is just west of the Child Time Daycare, which is west of the IHA building. And on January 5th of this year, the Planning Commission held the public hearing, and there were a few things that were needed on the plans before going forward. The first item was to add a loading space behind the building for deliveries and other loading vehicles. That was added to the plan. Second, the plan had to revise the lighting to comply with the zoning ordinance and the Cherry Hill Village Overlay District design guidelines, including green Amaryllis poles and more traditional wall-mounted fixtures. A revised lighting plan has not yet been submitted, and we recommend that a compliant lighting plan be satisfactorily reviewed by Planning Division staff prior to Township Board review of the application. This would allow the application to move forward. Also, because we're at the stage of PDD review, there will be a subsequent site plan review. The plans that have been submitted, they mostly comply with the site plan elements that we look at as staff, including landscaping, lighting, architecture, things like that. So in terms of the subsequent site plan application, I don't foresee a lot of changes from the PDD plans because a lot of those details are already there. So the lighting, that could be something that could be deferred, but I think it's a relatively minor item. The third item was to revise the dumpster enclosure designed to comply with the zoning ordinance. That additional detail has been added. The fourth item is submission of a PDD agreement that contains the modifications noted by Planning Division staff and satisfactorily reviewed by Township Legal Counsel. PDD agreement has been submitted and reviewed. I think there are some minor typographical items, but I would consider that condition satisfied. And then the fifth condition, or the fifth item to be resubmitted, was to revise the building designs to show adequate screening of roof-mounted mechanical equipment pursuant to the zoning ordinance, and to be more compliant with the building design criteria of Cherry Hill Village of the design guidelines. And for that item, the building designs have been changed to raise the parapet to 4 foot 4 inches, and the brick colors have been submitted. There is a dark brick that's dark brown, and the light brick is a light gray. In terms of the parapet, we think 4 foot 4 inches is adequate. That's something that can be determined in more detail at the time of site plan review, or when the heights of the mechanical equipment and the angles off the site are known. So with those items that have been submitted, staff's recommendation is to recommend approval of the PDD application if the Planning Commission is satisfied with the building designs. And subject to the following conditions. The first, that the revised plans be submitted and satisfactorily reviewed by Planning Division staff prior to Township Board review of the PDD application that address the pedestrian amenities in compliance with Cherry Hill Village design guidelines, door recessing in compliance with Cherry Hill Village design guidelines, or in lieu of that, an acceptable alternative to protect pedestrian traffic, such as fenced outdoor dining and/or raised planters adjacent to the building. Under C, the modular brick length instead of utility brick length. That's the size of a typical standard brick. D, lighting in compliance with Cherry Hill Village design guidelines and the zoning ordinance. And E, interior dumpster enclosure dimensions that comply with the zoning ordinance. And then the second condition is the PDD agreement be satisfactorily reviewed by Township Legal Counsel, and it include modifications for the maximum side yard setback on the west side where the drive is, allowing a flat concrete sidewalk in lieu of a patterned concrete, which would allow for better accessibility. And C, approving the window placement and design according to the plans, which we had discussed at the previous meeting. So there is a series of conditions there. It's not uncommon for a PDD to have those. They're more site plan in nature, but it's also not uncommon for a development in Cherry Hill Village to have these conditions, because the design guidelines in Cherry Hill Village are extensive. So we just wanted those conditions to carry forward with the application if the plans are otherwise satisfactory. So that concludes our staff comments, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Is the project sponsor here? Do you have anything to add to what Patrick said? All right.
My name is Ghassan Abdenour. I'm just the architect for this project. I have with me the owner and the civil engineer and the landscape architect. And we just want to say that we thank Patrick for a long term and a lot of work together with the planning department to make this project kind of getting to this point, to come in front of you and work with you to get the best design. We do have some comments that we want to discuss it with you, especially, for example, about the recess doors to the building. We do provide, the rendering does not show it exactly. If you go to the landscape plan, we'll see it better. There is almost 16 to 17 feet in front of the door before we get to the landscaping. And after that, there is sidewalk. So we feel like there is no need for the doors to be recessed, because we do have a cover parapet above the doors. It's almost 3 feet, so when you open the door, we feel it's more protected, and people, they're not going to be walking that close to the doors for protection. That's one item. The second items, we're here to kind of discuss with you the new layout the new maybe materials we're using and the colors we're using to kind of match more Cherry Hill concept or like theme. And that's why we went to a brownish color. We have limestone, and we have more beigey to grayish color that actually works. And the windows and the metal is very close to kind of very dark browns. So it's actually the theme is all together. And I do have panels for the materials. Just to go through it with you.
You can't, you won't be heard on the recording when you're not at the mic. So if you want to pass that, can we pass it down and can talk about it? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Oops, sorry.
And like this one, just give you a little bit an idea that the colors, and we're willing to change it if you think we need to.
Okay.
But we think it does work with the theme. It's kind of very comfortable for the eyes. And we think that it looks good. So for the size of the brick, we're willing to work with you. Patrick was talking about if you need to have a smaller size brick than bigger size brick, 1 feet, we can work in that process to make it a little bit more attractive to the street itself.
Okay.
The other issue, I don't know what other issue we're mainly facing. The other issue was the lineup of the windows. Lineup of the windows with a building like this, if you go to the rendering, Patrick, I'll appreciate it.
Oh, sure.
Because the first floor was trying to show a little bit more windows, and it's a more retail kind of a concept. And by going to the second and third floor, it's hard to match the windows with the front of the retail at the bottom. So we kind of, especially we do have balconies. If you go to the rendering, it's actually show it better. But, and I'm going to give you, just to have a closer view.
We share. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is not that brown.
Especially, I mean, you have the windows from the bedrooms, they're kind of smaller than, they can't match all that glass at the bottom. And we are adding to it a balconies, and we're recessing the balconies to the building inside, and we're keeping it very clean facade, so you don't see a lot of balconies over the sidewalk. And actually, that design, we thought it works too with the rain. If it's raining and you have all these balconies in front of the facade, you start having a lot of dripping. And that works very big by doing it the way we did it. So we're just here to work with you to come up with a nice design to make you happy. And I'm sure the owner is very excited to start the project. So I just want your blessing and to tell us kind of what the next step. And by the way, we have to make Patrick happy. So.
That's most important.
Exactly. All right.
And for parking reason, I think we have 79 parking, we have 18 parking on the outside. And if you add all this, I think by the numbers that we worked with the township, we have enough parking for that building. We have retails at the bottom, we have 15 units, and we have a little space for offices, people can use it. And I think the process in general is very good for a downtown, and hopefully that building makes Cherry Hill look even better.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. Commissioner Walther, would you like to start?
What's the overhang on the canopy? What's the measurements? How far does it jut out
3
from the
feet.
building?
3 feet.
Okay.
We kept it enough to cover the door. When you open the door at the bottom, so we don't
Okay.
have issues with the rain, and make the retail more comfortable.
Okay.
And also, we use it also for break of the building. but by breaking between the retail and the residential on the top. So.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay. Commissioner Weber?
So I will defer to our resident architect on the actual architectural design and the materials and all that sort of thing. But my question is, I get what you're saying about the recessing of the doors.
Yes.
My concern is, I look at the rendering there, if people are walking down the sidewalk along the building, and say they're trying to stay out of the rain underneath that overhang, as doors open and that sort of thing, they're gonna have to go out around the door as opposed to where you have a vestibule or whatever, where it's not the door opening, the door swing is not impeding the sidewalk. That's my only concern about
you-
not recessing the doors.
Yeah, the only answer for that is actually the rendering here is not fair because actually in front of the door, there's almost 16 feet of sidewalk before you get to the landscaping. So people, they're not going to be really much walking close to the building
Unless it's raining,
unless it's,
which it is right now.
if it's
so.
raining, you just stand next to the canopy. But when you open the door, they're kind of. The reason is with that building, when you start recessing every door, and sometimes we don't know how the retail works. Sometimes you have to move the door, you have bigger units, you don't have the door. So with the future design, it becomes very tough kind of in a way, but
Somehow I have a feeling the retailer will figure it out if the door is recessed or not, so, but, if they really want the space.
Yeah.
Not recessing the doors is my biggest issue. Other than that, I'm fine with the development.
I mean, that's something we can figure out with the owner. He's here, he can make the decisions.
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Lee?
I have an interest in, is it just one floor that you have this office space? So it's is that
No,
intended-
it's actually on the second floor, and the office space equal to 3 units.
Okay,
There is 9 units, so we took 3 units and we opened them together, and we facing the Cherry Hill, and we created offices there that can be used with the people living in the building, or some people have in Cherry Hill like to use them in the different apartments.
well, I think that's a niche market personally. I like the design. I'll just say that right up front. I like the design. It's something different in that area. So it's accent, but I think you're onto something with this small office space, only because I think there's a demand for it for people that only need it for a certain time.
Absolutely, yeah,
or
it
to
can be
do certain
rented for.
things. So I think that's a market that you hit. Would that be open? And I'm curious now. What would someone, if they wanted a small space like that? I know people are doing this, by the way. My neighbor's,
yeah,
he's in an
absolutely.
office now because he wants to get away from his kids. So I know it works, and he just stays there all day. But what would be the price point?
It's hard, I'm gonna
No,
defer.
I don't want you to, I'm just asking in general.
It's
I'm
actually,
nailing you
it
down.
should be very reasonable, because
Okay.
we're trying to push people out, especially if they live in the building. I
Particularly,
mean, particularly the people who live in the building, they're gonna have a better price, and that's a good deal for them.
okay.
And as long as they have the timing for it, they can sign for it for 2 hours, or if they want it for the whole month, that's another issue.
Okay,
But we're very flexible on that
The
department.
office-
understand.
Just to be clear, the office space is geared towards the people who are actually living
Living there.
correct?
Most of it,
Not for outsiders to lease the space.
if somebody on Cherry Hill needed to come and have a meeting, we're kind of okay with that, so.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Singh?
No questions. I like this project. Thank you.
Commissioner Watkins?
Super quick, so, given the office market, tell me, how does the co-working space, and this is to the developer, how does that fit into Performa? How do you look at, is there a revenue driver for the co-working space at all, or is this completely an amenity of the building? That's my first question. The second piece is, if you hold up the sample, the board again, look, that brown is, maybe this brown looks a little browner, but I assume that
Depends
this.
what angle you're looking at it, I guess.
Yeah, I was looking, this is much more brown than that brown that I see, but I'm thinking about the other alternative development across the street. If that's the brown you were trying to get at, I think it might be just a little bit deeper brown. And
Let me approach you a little bit.
Ale, the reason with this, the motor and this one, that's why it's showing a difference.
okay, sure.
It doesn't look like this.
So again, my question is going to be, based on your pro forma, how are you classifying the co-working space, and how does it fit into the actual development itself? Thank you.
I find the co-working space, it's an amenity to really bring in people that want to live in the complex, as well as they can have a working space. They have a family and they have, let's just say, kids or so on and so forth, and they want to be away for a couple of hours. It's an amenity that it's geared toward the people that live there. Look, if you're interested in office space, here we go, we got one. And hey, we'll charge an extra dollar or so much per month to have it, and they'll have access for it. I think the priority would be to the people that live there. It's not a lot of space, so remember that, so that's why I look at it. It's not like 20 units, only 3 units there.
All right, you're on the record for that $1. That's all, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this will be really nice for Cherry Hill Village, so I support the project. Anybody want to make a motion? Don't all move at once.
I think he's finding it.
I'll go ahead. I'll take a
Right.
crack at it. All right. I move to recommend approval of the Cherry Hill Village Plaza PDD in planning application number PZ 25-00012, subject to all state, county, and township requirements and the following conditions. 1, the revised plans be submitted and satisfactorily reviewed by the Planning Division staff prior to Township Board review of the PDD application to address the following requirements. A, pedestrian amenities in compliance with Section 2.1.6 of the Cherry Hill Village Design Guidelines. B, door recessing in compliance with Section 3.3.6 of the Cherry Hill Village Design Guidelines, or an acceptable alternative to protect pedestrian traffic, such as fenced outdoor dining and/or raised planters adjacent to the building. C, modular length brick instead of utility length brick. D, lighting in compliance with Section 2.1.6 of the Cherry Hill Village Design Guidelines and Section 2.13 of the zoning ordinance. E, interior dumpster enclosure dimensions that comply with Section 2.14 of the zoning ordinance. And number 2, that the PDD agreement be satisfactorily reviewed by Township Legal Counsel, and that the PDD agreement include the following modifications. A, maximum side yard setback on the west side. B, allowing flat concrete sidewalk in lieu of patterned concrete. And C, approving the window placement and design according to the plans.
Support.
All right, we're dominated by the W's again tonight. We have a motion by Commissioner Wather and support by Commissioner Weber. Any further discussion?
I have a quick question. This is for Patrick, I guess, or you. What is modular length brick and utility length brick?
The utility length brick, I think, was a little over 11 inches long, so roughly the length of a sheet of paper. And the modular is the typical length of a standard brick. I think it's maybe 7 or 8 inches long.
Okay,
It's 7 and 5/8, yeah.
got it.
Ah, there you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So more of what you see in Cherry Hill Village. So
Got it.
Yeah, and some of the, that utility is, some of the big box stores, sometimes they do like a half-high CMU or or something like that, where it's a lot wider. So if you're at a distance, it looks like it until you get up close, then you know it's a much wider unit, which we've typically allowed in a lot of our shopping centers, but in Cherry Hill Village, I know in other projects where a longer brick has been proposed, we've gone with that shorter, more traditional
A
brick.
modular brick would be more akin to what you see in a typical house.
Yes, yeah. Did you, a question?
There is one of the items is to kind of figure out the windows. I mean, I'd just like to kind of ask kind of,
Yeah, I was curious about that too, and
because we have the first floor as retail, there's a lot of big glass, but the top, we're kind of working with the windows to kind of match together with the balconies.
yeah.
I just want to get your opinion, kind of when we resubmit, I mean, I see that a hard item to work on.
Yeah, Patrick, why does our model motion include that 2C, approving the window placement and design according to the plans by Township Legal Counsel? About that.
This is just something that we wanted to include in the schedule of modifications in the PDD agreement.
Okay.
Because the Cherry Hill Village Design Guidelines, they have very specific standards for window placement. And when we talked about these in January, I think we all disagreed with the design guidelines just because of the reality of designing a building and not always getting the window exactly to the placement that the design guidelines call for. So because there would be technically a modification from the design guidelines of the window placement, I just wanted to be clear in the PDD agreement that in the schedule modifications, the window placement and the design is approved according to the plan. That way, we're not looking so much into the text of the code, we're looking at the plan, and if the plans are satisfactory in the window placement, then that modification is acknowledged in the
So
agreement.
if we're okay with this window placement, that's what,
Yeah, as well as the two-dimensional black and white.
I just want to make sure, because when we come back, if I change them, that the whole rendering will change.
I don't think we're asking you to change them right now. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think that we just want to make sure that it states in the PDD agreement that we're accepting. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and if the placement changes, we might be able to have some language there in the agreement that might allow some flexibility so that a change to the window doesn't mean you have to modify the PDD agreement.
Okay.
I would certainly.
So we'll work on something prior to Township Board review, just to give some flexibility, at least by the Planning Commission, so at the time of site plan review, that can be finalized.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion
in support.
by Commissioner Wather and support by Commissioner Weber on the floor. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, could you call the vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Walther,
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. All right.
Thank you very much. God bless
We
you.
wish
Thank
you the best. We'll see you again. All right. Next item on our agenda is item number 141-SLU-8756, the A to Z Galleria. Consider special land use for several parcels on Michigan Ave. And the properties are located on the north side of Michigan Ave and west of Hannon Road. The proposed use is a shopping center comprised of 3 buildings, each with a drive-through. Patrick, tell us more.
Sure, thank you. This is also another application that is returning to the Planning Commission this evening. At the Planning Commission meeting on November 3rd of 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on the special land use for drive-through fast food restaurants on the site. And the Planning Commission postponed action on that special land use application pending receipt and review of revised plans that complied with the special land use standards of the zoning ordinance and applicable development standards of the zoning ordinance as noted in our staff report at that time. The Planning Division staff met with the applicant and their residential neighbors to the north about a week or two after that Planning Commission meeting to discuss specifically the buffering on the north side of the site and the site impacts. And since then, the applicant has revised the plans based on comments from the Planning Division staff, the neighbors, and MDOT. One of the reasons that the time period in which the application was submitted was much later than when we had met with the neighbors back in November, is the applicant has been working with MDOT and with Wayne County to try to find a solution in terms of where the drives can be located. And so in the correspondence with Wayne County, which is in the packet of materials, Wayne County has issued a letter with a number of comments on the application and recommendations. One of the changes to the plan, probably the most significant change to the plan since the November meeting, is this site is at the northwest corner of Michigan Avenue and Hannon. This is at our far east boundary, so north side of Michigan Avenue. And previously, the drive was located much farther to the west. And the reason being is that as a general rule, not always, but generally, if there's a corner property at an intersection, we like to see the driveways located as far away from the intersection as possible so that turning traffic at the intersection is less likely to interfere with turning traffic in and out of the site. In this case, the site is somewhat unique because being on Michigan Avenue, there's a boulevard that will separate the two sides of the road, the eastbound and the westbound. And so there is a crossover nearby, and one of the challenges of the site is to locate the drive that can still not conflict with the crossover. So what I'll do is I'll include an aerial photo of the site just to illustrate the impact of the crossover. So here we are at the northwest corner of Michigan Avenue, which is to the south, and Hannon Road, which is to the east. And it's a little hard to see, but these are three parcels, these vacant three parcels. That is the petitioner's site. And during the previous review of the application, the driveway was located farther west of the site. And one of the challenges of locating the driveway there is that if someone was turning out of the site and wanted to go eastbound, they would have to accelerate quickly and cross 3 or 4 lanes of traffic to get into this turnaround on Michigan Avenue and then make that Michigan left to go eastbound on Michigan Avenue. That was a concern of Wade Trim when they reviewed the traffic study, and also a concern of MDOT. And so to satisfy MDOT, what they recommended doing was to actually move that driveway eastward, closer to the intersection, which is slightly less impactful because all of the traffic that turns out of the site onto Michigan Avenue is all going east, so it's not headed toward the intersection. It also allows that if there is someone turning westbound, it allows additional distance for them to get into the turnaround lane and use the crossover. So therefore, let me find it here. Let me just close that. So therefore, the driveway was moved eastbound, and there is a dedicated right turn lane going into the site. So if traffic is going westbound and they want to turn into the site, after they cross Hannon Road, they will almost immediately get into the right turn lane, decelerate, and then they can enter the site. Same with traffic that have used to cross over farther east in the city of Wayne to cross over and access this site. So on the site, this crossover on Michigan Avenue is a little bit farther to the west over there. So that was probably the most significant change in terms of access management. The site has been designed according to MDOT's recommendations. I don't know if MDOT has yet reviewed the revised drawings that have been amended according to their comments, but those comments are incorporated into this current design. Another item that we had discussed with the applicants and with the neighbors to the north was regarding the property screening. And the neighbors to the north, they had provided public comment at the public hearing, and we had met with them and the applicant about a week and a half after that meeting. And what was discussed and what the applicant has incorporated into the design is there is a 6-foot high masonry wall. Let me zoom out of the landscape plans here. There's a 6-foot-high masonry wall that is proposed to extend along the northern lot line. The masonry wall is a split-face concrete masonry wall, I think the color gray. And it's proposed to extend along the length along the northern lot line. Additionally, there are evergreen trees placed on the inside of the wall to the south to provide additional buffering. The residents to the north, specifically the home is a little bit closer to Hannon Road, so concentrating the evergreens in the area where there's not just the home, but a lot of the usable portions of the rear yard, and then other portions of the rear yard where there are more dense evergreens here to the west. One of the items that we do note is that the wall is proposed to extend to the front lot line. In the zoning district, the wall has to be outside of the front yard setback. So the applicant will be requesting a variance from that requirement. There are many elements of the potential variance request that would have merit. One is the screening element that it provides to a residential use that abuts a commercial use. Also, the home has existed for several decades. The home is within the required front yard setback from Hannon Road. So as such, any screening that would assist the neighbor would also have to be within that front yard setback. So had the home been conforming and was set much farther back from the road, then the wall would be set back accordingly. However, the house may have been built before we even had zoning, or at least that provision of the zoning ordinance. So that's the reason for the wall to extend farther, closer to the front lot line along Hannon Road. So right now, we don't have any opinion on the variance. We'll have to evaluate that based on its own merits. Probably one of the first things we'll look at is safety and lines of sight, and make sure that there are no safety implications in terms of lines of sight out of it. So we could potentially see a possible reduction in the wall going westward once we evaluate the lines of sight, and we'll review that with our engineers and look at the geometry of that if and when they apply for a variance. Also in the packet, Wayne County has provided a review letter on the site, including comments about the access at the intersection of Hannon Road. With that, if the special land use plan and the designs are acceptable to the Planning Commission, we would recommend approval of the special land use pursuant to the zoning ordinance standards and based on the plans provided in staff's analysis, subject to all state, county, and township requirements, and subject to the following conditions. Number one, satisfactory review of the traffic impact study and the plans by MDOT and Wayne County. Second, approval of any applicable variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to Township Board review of the special land use application. And third, incorporating the following plan changes at the time of site plan review. A, narrowing the sidewalk adjacent to the right turn lane from Ford Road to 5 feet, and/or locating it northward onto the site with a pedestrian access easement. This would create some separation between the sidewalk along Michigan Avenue and the lane of the road, which I'll discuss in a moment. Under 3B, showing the width of the drive-through lanes and modifying the plans at the time of site plan review to allow for efficient access if the drive-through lane widths are too narrow. And C, including any design requirements of MDOT and Wayne County. If the plans are satisfactory, we would recommend approval of those conditions. We've prepared 2 model motions, one for approval of conditions, another for postponing action if there are any other details or information that the Planning Commission needs at this point before making a recommendation on the special land use application. The last thing I do want to mention is with that sidewalk and the proximity to the travel lane. So the elementary school that is a few parcels to the west, it has a very similar condition where there is a right turn lane from Michigan Avenue, and very close to it, there is an 8-foot wide sidewalk. And there's a very narrow grass strip there that provides a little bit of a buffer, but when walking along that deceleration lane, it is uncomfortable for pedestrians. It is an 8-foot wide sidewalk, which typical sidewalks are 5 feet. So along that area adjacent to the drive, we would recommend narrowing the sidewalk to 5 feet just to provide a little bit more buffer, or to move the sidewalk into the site and provide an access easement that would encroach into the berm itself, but that can be a determination that's made at the time of site plan review. So that concludes our staff report, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tizio, do you have anything to add? Thank you. You're welcome.
Buonasera, Ben Tissio Architects. I'm here with my client. Thank you for showing up again for the hearing. As discussed, we had a good meeting at Patrick's office with our neighbors. We worked out some concerns that they had, and one of them was kind of the choice about more landscape in the wall. Their preference was to have the wall there, provided more of a screen, and also because of the lighting and so forth. So that's what we chose. But there's some issues that may be a setback issue with the county, because it is within up to the sidewalk, which is the future right-of-way, and I understand that they required to be back. We're here to accommodate our neighbors. So whatever you decide, we're fine with that. Hopefully we can understand their concerns of that. The one issue with the sidewalk is something that concerned me, and I would agree that we would like that walkway reduced to 5 feet. Otherwise, we only have a foot of grass between the back of the curb of the deceleration lane and the sidewalk. I would recommend that you accept the 5-foot sidewalk at that point. And I don't know if it's a bike traffic or there's some other issue. If I'm not mistaken, is Michigan Avenue MDOT jurisdiction?
Yes.
So they may have some say-so in that, I don't know. One of the concerns also that the neighbor brought up is when we move the sidewalk back to the future right-of-way, the sidewalk pretty much dead ends at their front door. So rather than have pedestrians walk through their front yard, we ran the sidewalk parallel to the north property to the roadway, so they don't bother walking on their property to get on this sidewalk. I think we've addressed everything here. There was, my apologies, I noticed we didn't add the width of the drive-up lane, but we did note it as the stacking, as the 9 by 20 on the stacking. There were some other comments that I wanted to make a clarification on. Let me see. There was a discussion about we're having fast food restaurant. This is going to be a coffee shop. I don't classify that as a fast food. We do have one indicated on the drawings as a restaurant in the center building. We are hoping on the building furthest to the east that we would attract a drugstore or pharmacy type. But we don't want to limit that. If a fast food comes in and they want to use it, we'd like to be able to do that on that site as well. I know the setback is an issue on the rear, but I would also like to point out the fact that the Mel's Auto next door does not meet the 60-foot setback either. And they're behind the wooded area, as we are as well. So we'd like that same consideration, please. We did note on the site plan on the bottom left, the EV stations. So that may have been missed, but there is a note there. The bottom 2 stations on the left are designed for future as EV vehicles as well. And I think that really concludes what I need to present. I don't know if the neighbors want to say anything, if they're permitted, but we're here to hopefully get approval tonight.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody? I don't remember who I started with last time, so. Did I? Okay. So I'll start with Brian this time.
No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Singh?
Just one question about the traffic. So these are drive-through there are drive-through restaurants planned?
Well, there's 3 drive-throughs shown on the plan. The one furthest east, we are hoping to attract a drugstore or a pharmacy for that use. The center one is we're looking for that as a fast food, and the one furthest west would be a coffee shop. Actually, my client would be occupying that space with 3 other spaces as well. So it's not a fast food it's a coffee shop on the furthest west building.
Okay. So the traffic, Patrick, I believe when we study it, it's taking into consideration that if all 3 drive-throughs are busy at the same time and the traffic is flowing, we have taken all that into consideration for traffic and
Yeah, they have a traffic impact study where they looked at the potential users. And let me see if I can find, they would have a table here in terms of trip generation. Here we go. So on the traffic study trip generation, they assigned, there's an Institute of Transportation Engineers, ITE code. And then that code, there's a multiplier based on the amount of square footage. And then it's the average daily traffic based on the use. So there's for a strip retail plaza under 40,000 square feet, there's a certain number of square footage applied. That would be the non-drive-through portion. What they modeled is on the far west, they modeled it as coffee shop with a drive-through. The middle building, they modeled it as a fast food with a drive-through. And on the east side, they modeled it as a pharmacy with a drive-through. So the average daily traffic for example, a coffee shop is going to be less than a fast food because a fast food throughout the day will get more. And then, so they modeled a lower number with the eastern building with a pharmacy of a drive-through. So that's one of the considerations where we have pharmacies in Canton that have a drive-through, but they are not, they don't need special land uses because the drive-through is kind of accessory. It's not like a drive-through restaurant where you have the heavy traffic. So pharmacies with a drive-through, they generate much less traffic, less impactful. So they're gonna get a lot fewer vehicle trips. So what they modeled for that eastern building was based on a pharmacy.
so if you have 3 fast food dine-in restaurants that you rent to instead of a pharmacy, because it's not set yet, right, that you're getting a pharmacy there, it might be another fast food restaurant?
Well, at most, it would be 2. Again, we have a coffee shop, was not considered a fast food on the far west building. So if there's any possibility, it would be the far east building and the center building that could be fast food. I mean, we're indicating a fast food on the center building. We may not get a fast food there. Some other tenants may want the space. We're trying to accommodate the future uses for the tenant spaces. Right now, we only have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the tenants on the far west building that we have accommodated for. Those are the only ones that we know are going to be there, or we propose to be there.
Yeah, Madam Chair, my only concern is that if all 3 are fast food, we are not restricting that. I don't think we can, but if all 3 are fast food in future, will the traffic, the building will support enough traffic for all 3 being fast food?
Yeah, and depending on the allocation of uses, if, like for example, if there were more under the fast food and less under the pharmacy or the coffee, then the traffic would, at least the projected traffic would change accordingly. So there are some differences with the ITE code and our zoning ordinance. In our zoning ordinance, it defines fast food and drive-through restaurants very broadly. So whether it is coffee or ice cream or smoothies, or chicken or hamburgers, it treats them all the same. So from a zoning standpoint, it treats them the same. But from a traffic standpoint, the way that ITE has it modeled is that if there's a fast food restaurant, it's going to generate more trips than a coffee place will. So there's going to be some differences between how ITE does that. And then it doesn't look like the ITE distinguishes between whether they are detached or attached. And sometimes those do make a differences in types of restaurants. So there are certain types of fast food restaurants that won't go in a multi-tenant center because they want to be a standalone. So those would be probably the heavier generators of fast food traffic than something that was attached in a multi-tenant facility. But that would all just depend on the tenant and the market there.
That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lee,
I have no questions.
Commissioner Weber.
Patrick, I was curious, and this is a historical question. I see there's a bunch of old driveway aprons in front of this property. Do we know what used to be on this property?
I think it was residential.
Let's see, I can go back as far as
Oh, if
2001.
it was I think there were 3 homes on the site.
Okay, all right.
2 homes on the site.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so here's 2001. So yeah, it looks like there were 2 homes, so 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, there might be a third one here.
Third one.
Maybe this was an accessory building,
Okay,
but
all right.
residential.
So generally, I'm fine with the plan. I'm assuming the plan as we have it right in front of us, Patrick, is reflecting the driveway being moved further east.
Correct.
I do share Commissioner Singh's concerns about if you end up having 3 drive-throughs here at the same time, whether it's a pharmacy, fast food, whatever the case may be. And I understand a coffee shop's not technically fast food, but I've seen the line at Starbucks too, so I know how long they can get. My concern would be if you have all 3 drive-throughs going at the same time, and then you have the cars exiting those drive-throughs and navigating through the parking lot to the exit, I could see issues there. I'm not sure of the answer. I understand what you're trying to accomplish. Trying to keep all your avenues open, I understand that, certainly. But that would be my biggest concern. Other than that, I'm fine with the development.
Okay. Commissioner Wather. Oh,
Answer this question. The coffee shop is, this is Mohammed Khan, 48735 Cherry Hill. What I do know, coffee business is morning business. After 9, 10 o'clock, there's everything. Fast food in the middle building probably will be lunch and dinner. One right on by the Hennard side is, we don't know yet, but definitely we're hoping it's gonna be drugstore.
But you could say typically, but you look at, you take a fast food place like, I hesitate to bring this example up. You get a place like Raising Cane's. And sometimes you go by there now the novelty's wore off, and sometimes it's kind of dead. But there's a lot of times that it's quite busy, whether that's middle of the day, dinner time, even late at night. So I think to say typical coffee shop in the morning, I would tend to agree with that. Fast food could be anytime. Pharmacy could be anytime. I mean, depending upon what the hours of the pharmacy are. So I hesitate in just putting a label on saying, well, it's, this is that, or, this time is the busy time. It's the possibility. I hear what you're saying. I'm not ignorant of it, but you just never, I guess my point is you never know. And I hate to think that we didn't account for that somehow. But anyway. Sorry.
Commissioner Wather.
My main issue with this is Building C, the drive-through, when it empties out, it's emptying out onto oncoming traffic. And I would rather not see a drive-through there.
I understand that, but it is a 2-way drive. If we eliminate the drive-through, the traffic would still empty on right into that driveway.
It's still emptying out onto oncoming traffic from the road. So, to me, that's a red flag to me, so.
Yeah, it's emptying out right into the
Into the
entrance,
driveway, yeah.
So,
So you have to really look and pay attention as you're going over to exit.
Well, they do have the do not enter sign there, I see. But, right where Patrick's hand is.
Right, but you'd have to go all the way over to the right to exit, or you would have to turn left to go to Hannon if you know that this.
Right.
That's my biggest issue.
Okay. Okay. Fair. I mean, I share that concern. But,
I just think about Wendy's, Tim Hortons by
Yeah.
fire, you know?
yeah, there's no Wendy's there anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, that is a mess. So,
I could foresee him being a mess.
yeah. Okay. I have nothing to add other than I want to say, I appreciate you working with the neighbors on this and really getting their input and thoughts and building the wall for them, so that's good. Otherwise, I look forward to this development, so. Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure will. I move to approve planning applications number 141 SLU 8756 for proposed drive-through fast food restaurant special land uses on parcels 141-99-0003-700, 14199-0004-000, and 14199-0005-001 at 39558 and 39462 Michigan Avenue, as the application meets the special land use criteria Section 27.83C of the zoning ordinance pursuant to the information and plans provided in staff's analysis of Section 27.03C, subject to all state, county, and township requirement, and subject to the following conditions. 1, satisfactory review of the traffic impact study and plans by MDOT and Wayne County. 2, approval of any applicable variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals prior to Township Board review of the special land use application. And 3, incorporating the following plan changes at the time of site plan review. A, narrowing the sidewalk adjacent to the right turn lane from Ford Road to 5 feet and/or locating it northward onto the site with a pedestrian access easement. B, showing the width of the drive-through lanes and modifying the plans at the time of site plan review to allow for efficient access if the drive-through lane widths are too narrow. And C, including any design requirements of MDOT and Wayne County.
Just a small edit to your correction, yes. That the model motion says right turn lane from Ford Road.
Oh, should say Michigan.
Sure, we're talking.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Should say,
Thanks to Commissioner
Different
Weber for
project,
catching
sorry.
that.
Yes.
yeah. I'm so sorry,
No, you didn't. You just read what was there. Right.
Yeah, change Ford to the other MDOT road.
Yeah, so did somebody support that? I'm
Yeah, Commissioner Singh.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Singh. Any further discussion? All right, Commissioner Lee, could you call the vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Commissioner Walther,
No.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber,
Yes.
and Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. All right, Patrick, next steps?
Next steps will be, the applicant has to apply for a variance for the wall encroachment of the front yard setback. That's a fairly critical item with the special land use application, so we recommend that be done before the township board considers the special land use application. That way, the board will know going in if the wall has been approved for a front yard setback variance, and then any of the other conditions noted in the motion have been satisfied, so that it's relatively clean going into the township board consideration of the special land use.
Okay,
Does it have to, I'm sorry, no. Does it have to go to the zoning board?
Pardon?
Will it have to go to the zoning board of appeals?
Yes, zoning board of appeals will review the front yard setback encroachment for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, we'll do that. Does the county still have to review that, Patrick, or not?
For the wall, if it's not in the county right-of-way, I'm not sure if they will.
Okay, it's not, it's just beyond the future right-of-way line, which is the 60 feet from the center line. So it's strictly with the township then?
As far as I know.
Thank you. And we'll coordinate this, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Yep.
All right. Next item, item number 4, 069-ADS-8690. And I am probably not going to pronounce this correctly. Masjid Bilal? Did I say it right? Okay. Considering a site plan, gentlemen, I'm sorry, could you guys, we still have a meeting, so thank you. We're considering a site plan on parcel number 069-99-0011-701 at 1525 North Ridge Road. Property is located on the west side of North Ridge between Ford and Salts. And we're talking about a proposed addition to an existing structure and expansion of the parking lot. Patrick, tell us all about it.
Sure, thank you. The applicant is proposing an addition of 28,786 square feet to an existing mosque at 1545 North Ridge Road, which is located on the west side of North Ridge Road between Ford Road and Salts Road. The property is zoned R1 single-family residential, and religious institutions are special land uses in the R1 district. The subject parcel is just over 6 acres and includes the existing mosque and single-family residence on the north side of the site. The residence is proposed to remain. There was previously a special land use approved for religious institution on the site in September of 2000. So a special land use application is not required. However, for the addition, a site plan review is required, and all the requirements of site plan review in the zoning ordinance apply. At this time, Canton Township and the applicants are working with Wayne County on any recommended future improvements and how those improvements could be implemented. Because we are continuing to work with Wayne County on this item, we recommend postponing action on this item pending review of Wayne County and comments on traffic items, which we'll bring up in a few moments. However, based on the significance of the site changes, the addition and the parking lot, we do want to have the Planning Commission review of the plans at this time, even knowing that we recommend postponing to a future meeting based on some unknowns with the traffic. There are some significant site improvements and some modifications that are implied on the plan. So we wanted to have these in front of the Planning Commission at this time and to get some preliminary comments and possibly recommendations on any additional site changes. So one of the items that we have made comments on where we recommend some additional information is based on the landscaping. On the north side buffer, in the landscaping requirements on page 5 of our letter, because this is a non-residential use that abuts residential uses and residential zoning districts, there are some buffer standards that apply to the northwest and south sides of the property. There are no evergreens noted on the north side because there is a proposed rain garden there to accommodate the stormwater management. If a rain garden is not essential and if the underground stormwater system is sufficient, then we would recommend the landscape berm on the north side of the site because that north side of the site contains parking that abuts West Ridge Estates. If the rain garden is essential to the development, it might be more suitably located on the west side of the building. For the buffer on the west side of the site, there is dense vegetation on the west side of the site that's proposed to remain. This vegetation includes a lot of invasive species, and we recommend removing the invasive species and creating the required landscape berm on the west side of the site due to the adjacency of the clubhouse to the west in West Ridge Estates, as well as the adjacent cemetery. And finally, on the south side of the site, the applicant proposes a 6-foot-high vinyl fence in lieu of a wall. There's currently a fence there, and they propose to continue the 6-foot-high vinyl fence along the entirety of the southern boundary. While a solid vinyl fence might be preferable to a wall, we recommend placing some or all of the required landscaping along the side of the site to provide a buffer from the residents to the south. There are a number of other comments that we have in our staff report regarding some potential additional changes and items in the parking area. The parking is a little difficult to calculate just based on the nature of the multipurpose. It's not just a religious institution where it's a place of worship, but it's also has activity facilities like multi-sports court, basketball courts on the far west side of the building, and a banquet assembly facility in the middle where I don't foresee it hosting like regular banquets, like a full-blown banquet facility, but as a religious institution, we do anticipate it would hold a lot of events, which would include food service. The main issue with the site is the traffic impact study. The traffic impact study notes some existing deficiencies of the road network, and it acknowledges that there are deficiencies nearby, especially at the intersection of Ford Road and Ridge Road. Some of the traffic improvements that are noted on the plan are along the frontage of the site. I'll zoom in a little bit here. Might be a little bit difficult to show, but from West Ridge Estates to the north, the applicant proposes to add a continuous right turn lane almost along the entire frontage of the site. So if there's southbound traffic on Ridge Road, there's a turn lane into West Ridge, and to make that transition a little bit easier, they propose to continue that right turn lane throughout the frontage of the site so that right turning traffic is outside of the travel lanes. Also, there's a left turn passing flare at the intersection. So if there is northbound traffic, they would be presumably turning into the first driveway. And if they're turning left and they're doing that, there's a passing flare that goes around. So those are the major traffic improvements adjacent to the site. There are deficiencies that are noted at the intersection of Ford and Ridge that are identified in the traffic study and reviewed by Wade-Trim. Both the traffic study and Wade-Trim's letter are in the packet of information. And specifically, during a lot of the AM, PM peak times, as well as the peak Friday time, there are traffic deficiencies at that intersection. So northbound traffic along Ridge Road, it does stack up quite a bit, whether it's going straight or turning left. And I think our traffic engineering consultant had recommended that there be right turn lanes on Ridge Road at that intersection, both northbound and southbound. We'll bring up this intersection here so we can get a closer look. So this was taken last fall sometime, and as we can see, this is Ford Road to the north, this is Ridge Road, north to south, and we can see that left turn lane has quite a few cars stacked up there. There's a lot of traffic that stacks up here that takes a left from Ridge onto Ford Road. So this is an existing condition. I don't think this was taken on a Friday, so I don't think this is related to any of the peak activities of the mosque. But there are stacking issues there. That could be partially alleviated by adding some capacity. A right turn lane at this intersection would add some capacity, both those turning straight and right. But this left turning traffic doesn't really alleviate that. What might help is a dedicated left turn green arrow. Also some signal retiming, but that would have to be coordinated with Wayne County and with MDOT. MDOT, they have control of the signal because it's an MDOT road. And if there was a left turn green light, for example, any green time that's allocated to Ridge Road would come from the green time that's available to Ford Road, and we wouldn't want any capacity to get a level service E or F onto Ford Road. So in terms of signal retiming, retiming can only do so much. Really, when it comes to intersection improvements, it's either adding lanes or adding dedicated turn signals. So those deficiencies, township staff has reviewed the traffic study. Wade Trim has prepared a consultant's review for Canton Township, and now Canton is in the process of working with MDOT and Wayne County regarding the outcomes of those, just to see what possibilities there could be to improve the level of service at that intersection. Again, with the understanding that many of these are existing conditions at the intersection. We already have existing traffic issues at that intersection. So we want to know what we can do in collaboration with the applicant or with just the government agencies to improve capacity at that intersection. So we're still working with the road agencies there. We don't have any outcomes in terms of their review of the traffic study, what could potentially be a future project there to alleviate not just the traffic impact of the addition and more traffic based on the use, but also the existing conditions at that intersection. So those are still some unknowns there with the traffic. And as such, we can't make any affirmative findings on the traffic impact until we have concluded our review with the road agencies. Therefore, our recommendation is to postpone action on the application based on the application materials not providing the sufficient information to demonstrate compliance with the standards of section 27.02G of the zoning ordinance and other applicable standards of the ordinance, specifically as it relates to traffic. But at the same time, we wanted to take the opportunity to discuss the plans, discuss the project, and address any questions or comments from the Planning Commission at this time. That concludes our staff comments, and we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Patrick. Project sponsors, would you like to add anything to what Patrick said? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Mohammad Siddiqui. From Anamta Engineering. I'm representing the Masjid Bilal Mosque project. I have Mr. Architect Brian Devlin, Arslan Sheikh, and Mr. members of the our mosque. Okay, so we are excited to present this 28,000 square feet expansion, which includes an essential prayer area, extension, a banquet hall, and a gymnasium to serve our community's growing needs. We have reviewed the planning department's report and would like to put our commitments on the record regarding the two primary technical items mentioned. Landscaping buffers, we have heard the concern regarding the northwest and south buffers. We commit to fully comply with the ordinance requirement, including the 4-foot berm and the required evergreen and deciduous planting. We will also clear the invasive species as recommended. Architectural material, regarding the exterior, we will provide a full material breakdown in our next submittal to ensure we meet the 50% masonry requirement. Our current design already utilizes high-quality bricks to blend with the surrounding residential characters. While we understand the staff's recommendation to postpone due to ongoing traffic coordination with Payne County, we respectfully request that the Commission consider a conditional approval tonight. A conditional approval contingent on final landscape and architect revision, and Wayne County traffic requirements would allow us to stay on schedule and begin essential site work, specifically the parking lot expansion, which is a highly priority for our congregation's safety and convenience. We are fully committed to working with Canton Township and Wayne County to resolve the remaining traffic details. We ask for your support tonight so we can move this community project into the next phase. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any question.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to start with Commissioner Walther.
Nothing for me at this time.
Nothing? Okay. Commissioner Weber.
Nothing other than the fact that I'm anxious to see what comes back from the county, given that we've had the same conversation with the development on the north side of the road from that facility. So doing what we want to do, what wants to be done here combined with that, I think, I'm hoping that lights a fire under somebody to really give this some serious consideration and making some improvements to this intersection.
Yeah, and with regard to that, we looked at comparing the traffic studies and some of the differences on the north and the south side. We did have issues with the north side, and I think one of the remedies was the signal optimization. On the north side, they get a lot less traffic coming southbound. They do have the apartment complex, and a lot of that goes directly onto Ford Road, but the traffic on North Ridge, north of Ford, was less than what was on the south side of Ridge. A lot of that traffic comes from Cherry Hill Village and then turns onto Ford Road. So that part of Ridge Road south of Ford Road is much heavier traffic.
Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Lee.
Traffic again, but I'm gonna let someone with more experience deal with that, because I'm not sure I can ask the right questions. I'm gonna just pass mine on.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Singh.
Madam Chair, I think traffic, again, as Commissioner Lee said, is a main concern. That road there is already too congested. I use this road on daily basis, and many times I have to turn into the subdivision to go to the Ford Road. So as we get more traffic here with today's first residential development, we're putting 600 more houses there on this same road going up to Geddes, but many of those people are going to use this road coming down to Ford Road. So this intersection requires some heavy changes, some drastic changes. So I would like to see that before we can go any further with any more developments in this area, with any heavy traffic developments. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Watkins.
Super quick. So I think this intersection right there, Salts Den Ridge, I call that that's the second most dangerous intersection probably in Canton. Naturally, because there's no light there as you're approaching, you're heading up. Well, it's just as funky as was at Sheldon at Geddes, right? It's pretty weird. And lots of cars that are headed to Ford Road come down that road. So when you think about the sheer size of the project, right? I think the existing structure is about 6,000 square feet. The former church, the current mosque, Masjid Bilal, but you're going to 28,000. You're talking 4 times the size in terms of the physical structure, not including what you have there with parking. So you're talking about being able to really look at this critically and ensure at every level, right, that number one, it's a good fit for the corner. And then, Commissioner Weber, I hear you all the time, even in my ear. We're going to work with our county friends. They're going to have to help us. And they're going to have to help the people that are bringing development to Canton. We're going to do that. We're going to, for every guy that comes to this table, we're going to continue to sing that song, and we're going to continue to work with Wayne County to make sure that traffic isn't an afterthought. They can't just say, hey, yeah, okay, right now it works good. and then we wait for the problems and then we fix it. But I looked at the design, it's beautiful. It reminds me of the Islamic Center of Greater Toledo. Fantastic. Fantastic, but we have so many things that we need to work on before we get to that point. And I think if we look at it a little bit closer with the postponement, we'll be in good shape. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I agree with the comments about the traffic, and it is very difficult when we don't, as a township, we just don't control our roads. So we're at the mercy of Wayne County, and we can certainly encourage our, the developers and tenants, or township residents to contact Wayne County and complain, but it's difficult. So, anybody want to make a motion?
I will, Madam Chair. I move to postpone action on planning application number 069-ADS 8690 for Masjid Bilal on parcel 06999-0011-701 at 1525 North Ridge Road based on the site plan application materials not providing sufficient information to demonstrate compliance with the standard section 27.02G of the zoning ordinance and other applicable development standards of the zoning ordinance as noted by planning division staff, and pending receipt of revised application materials from the applicant that demonstrate compliance with these standards of the zoning ordinance.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Weber. Any further discussion? Commissioner Lee, could you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Walther.
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber.
Yes.
Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, wish you the best.
We'll continue working with our engineering division in Wayne County and MDOT and try to move forward on whatever the future may hold in terms of any prospective intersection improvements, even if it's something not directly related to the application or just something to get, whether it's getting a plan started or getting something on a project list to get some kind of forward movement on intersection improvements. We're going to work with those road agencies and come back with any answers that we can on any updates that we can get.
Okay,
And we'll try to do that as quickly as possible.
very good. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right, next item is item number 5, SPF PZ 26-00088, Fillmore Place, Phase 4 and 5. We are considering a final site plan on parcel number 125-99-0002-710, which doesn't have an address, but which is also located on the west side of North Beck Road between Geddes Road and Michigan Avenue. This is a proposed development of 100 single-family residential units. Patrick, tell us more.
Sure, thank you. This plan will be somewhat familiar because the Planning Commission had previously reviewed a plan development district amendment last year to amend the Fillmore Place PDD to allow changing the number of dwelling units. Fillmore Place PDD had a series of multifamily units on the west side of the site, and in 2025, the PDD was amended to replace 59 of the attached single-family residential units and 192 single-family townhouse units on the west side of the development with 100 detached single-family residential units, which was a proposed net reduction of 151 units. The proposed changes resulted in modifications from zoning ordinance requirements, which are described in our staff report. Shortly after the Fillmore Place Phase 4 and 5 preliminary site plan was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on January 5th of this year, and subsequently approved by the Township Board on March 24th of this year. So at this time, the applicants are coming forward with the final site plan. It's rather a quick process, but because much of the site is developed and entitled, it's a fairly quick process to convert after PDD going to preliminary and final site plan. So we're at the third and final step of the process of first amending the PDD, second approval of the preliminary site plan, and the third and final step is approval of the final site plan. The final site plan application and the plans are consistent with the approved preliminary site plan. The only item that remains is having any applicable performance guarantees, financial guarantees in place prior to township board approval of the site plan. So that's something that we're working with the applicant and our engineering division on. With final site plan, the engineering division also has to get their performance guarantees as well, which I believe they're working on. So our recommendation is approval of the Fillmore Place Phase 4 and 5 final site plan in the subject planning application, subject to all state, county, and township requirements. And those township requirements will include the sufficient performance guarantees prior to final approval.
Okay. Project sponsor have anything to add? No? Okay, thank you. It's late. All right, anybody from the committee have anything? How about a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to recommend approval of the Fillmore Place Phase 4 and 5 final site plan and planning application number PZ 26-00088 on the project parcels numbers 125-99-0002-710, 125-99-0002-711, and 125-99-0002-712, subject to all state, county, and township requirements.
All right, we have a motion. I keep wanting to say a commotion. 'Cause I'm going to talk about a motion by Commissioner Watkins and support by Commissioner Singh. Any further discussion? All right. Commissioner Lee, could you call the vote?
Commissioner Lee, yes. Commissioner Singh.
Yes.
Commissioner Wather.
Yes.
Commissioner Watkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Weber.
Yes.
Chairperson Zuber.
Yes, motion carries. Awesome. Good luck, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is miscellaneous. Staff reports, commission, and liaison comments. Anything?
Nothing else to report. The only item I wanted to add was that it looks like we will have a work session the third Monday of this month, which would be on the 18th.
Okay.
So we'll have some of the items that we were going to discuss at the prior month's meeting. We'll be looking at data centers and an ordinance on chickens and
Chickens.
yeah, I know. Long story, but a productive conversation nevertheless. So those will be the main things to talk about at the work session. And then car wash regulations.
Oh, okay. Man,
I was just thinking, we haven't had a car wash application in quite
Thank
some
God.
time now. Is there one coming?
No, we have the one that was pending that was postponed, I think, back in September. Since then, we haven't had any new applications, but we wanted to come up with some additional standards for car washes that looks more at market studies and goes into more depth in terms of the requirements for a market study when there's a new car wash that comes in the community.
Madam Chair, motion
may I?
adjournment. Oh, I'm sorry.
One question.
More question here.
I'm finding this might be helpful. I don't know if you've already got it. One of the things I used to do was, I was in downtown, so we put projects, little dots with descriptions of each project as they're approved, whatever stage they're in. And I'm not sure if you got anything like that, because, you know, I find it helpful to kind of see all this stuff go together at some point. You know, we got these developments all over the place. But if there was a map that could show the township, that shows where these residential, where the mosques are, that kind of mapped out exactly where they are and how they all relate to each other, I think it would be helpful to me. I would use that. I don't know if you have it already, but I used to generate these things just because we had talking points when we would go to meetings. Say, oh yeah, that's that development. And I get questions, what's going here? And I don't remember. I really don't. Because there have been so many, and it's been years between the time that they were approved. Do you have anything like that now? Or is that something that puts work on your staff that we don't want to do?
Well, we've been looking into that. There have been inquiries in terms of having a map that does that. Some communities have maps and they're manually generated and it takes a lot of work to maintain it. Some communities, they have a software that can push that information out as it's created. One of the things that you may have known is over the last few months, the numbering of our applications has changed. They're called PZ25, PZ26. And the reason is that we have recently switched over with a new community development permitting software called BSNA. And within the permitting software BSNA, it has some rules in terms of how it numbers things. So from a planning commission standpoint, you notice a new number, but not really much else. This is where all of our permits are stored. When plans get approved, they're uploaded to this large database system. And when we're on a property in BSNA, we can click on a mapping component and then it brings a map up. So what we're looking to explore, and I can't say whether it's possible or not because we're still at the very early steps of using this software for its design intent and then pushing beyond that. We do want to have some kind of an interface with a software that would allow that to push information out onto a map. So in a database, there are some related points, like on the map that you see there in those red lines, there's parcels, and they have parcel ID numbers. Our database also has parcel ID numbers. So there are some relationships where we would be able to interface with a map. Because of the overall software change, we're spending a lot of time getting through some of the basic fixes and getting acclimated. It's taken a lot of time, but it's been productive as we work into the system. In planning division, we're also working with engineering division and the building division and other divisions to take on this new software. So that's kind of a long way of saying that as we continue to use it and learn its capabilities, that is one thing that we are going to explore and that we may do. If the software isn't possible, we'll look at other avenues. But our first option is to look at the software to see how we can use that to push information out on projects. Because if we can, then as things get updated, it can be updated in real time or.
Yeah. You know, I don't want to put words into Clarence's mouth, but I think I heard him volunteer to help you.
I don't know that electronic stuff.
Patrick, I got two quick questions. I'll try and quick answers. I know that last week was the first reading of the wireless ordinance, and it sounded like it was positively received. When's the second reading? Is it the next meeting, or?
The second reading has not yet been scheduled. I'll have to discuss that with the administration in terms of when they want to schedule the second reading. We anticipate an RFP being issued by Canton Township for some facilities on different township properties. So.
What is the status of that?
That I'm not sure of. I'd have to talk to the ITI department to see what the status of that is. But it is somewhat related to the second reading because we want to make sure that once the second reading takes place and if the ordinance is adopted, then it's fairly open market on acquiring sites and locating on sites. So from an ordinance standpoint, because we are allowing for wireless facilities on township sites, we want to make sure that as part of that, part of that open market, that the township is positioned and ready to have an RFP in conjunction with the ordinance. So I'm not sure how we would necessarily interface the second reading with that, but that is something we want to have on the schedule fairly soon. So that's a question that I'll have for the administration in terms of when they want to have that back on the agenda. But the first reading was very positive. There were no changes to the ordinance when it was read.
Second question, and just give me a yes or no answer. Sheets moving forward?
As far as I know, yes. They have some plan revisions to work through. We've been meeting with DTE about electrical capacity and trying to have the level 3 chargers and what that would take to have at the site. So as far as I know, it's still proceeding, but there's a lot of things to take place before it's ready.
Okay.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Well, we have a motion by Commissioner Lee and a support by, Commissioner Watkins. I couldn't hear who said that. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Take care.